One of the most exciting drag races of the NHRA season continues here at Memphis Motorsports Park. The NHRA Autozone Castrol GTX Mid-South Nationals. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates and Don Garland, and there in the gold car is Ed McCullough from California. In the far lane, also California-based, is Kenny Bernstein. Kenny Bernstein does not have lane choice. You'll recall in the previous round, he got very lucky. He won even though he lost traction and smoked the tires. McCullough may have a shot at Kenny Bernstein, one of the rare ones he's had. This is semi-final round action.
He certainly has him in a compromising position at this point, Steve.
Indeed, it's McCullough and Bernstein. Bernstein moves in. He stages. McCullough, the last to stage. Starter liquid debris activates the Christmas tree, and they're off. It's Bernstein in a rock. Bernstein at 542, 270 miles per hour. McCullough shuts off to just 10 seconds flat. With a relieved Bernstein crew chief is Brock.
Well, Dale Armstrong, a little bit more textbook-like than the last one, for sure.
A little bit, yeah. We calmed it down. We sure didn't want to smoke the tires, and Ed had a little bit of trouble last time and ran a little slow, so we gambled and slowed down a little bit, and it worked out for us. I hope we can step it up for the final now, because I think we'll have to.
All right, good luck.
So much thought goes into these drag racing contests. You heard Dale Armstrong say they were looking ahead, anticipating maybe McCullough doing something unpredictable, which he has done all year long, like smoking the tires. Well, here's a man who may have a handle on this race. Don Prudhomme, Granada Hills, California, low elapsed time of the previous round at 5:37.
And you know they have to be excited about that. That snake really gets racy when he gets a good ET.
He's going to have to be. He's going to face Mark Oswald. In the meantime, let's go to Steve with Kenny Bernstein.
Well, for the second time this year, Kenny Bernstein is final round bound.
Well, it's great to be back. It's been a while, believe me.
You haven't talked much.
No, we haven't talked to this area very often at all. No, it's great. It's been a good day so far. Hopefully we can do the job.
That was a good race until McCullough apparently lost a blower belt.
Is that what happened? I didn't know. I knew it would be tough no matter what. At least we got through there without smoking the tires this time, so that helps out.
You're in a 542. Conservative or slower than you expected?
Well, I would like to have seen a 36 or a 7 or something, but, you know, they'll have a reason for it when I get back and look at the computer tape.
Boy, the computer ever more important in this kind of competition. Don Garland, what does your computer say about this particular pairing?
Well, it looks to me like the snake has definitely got an advantage. He's got the near lane, which is the one that everyone's been picking with lane choice. They've got Oswald over in the far lane, supposedly the marginal lane. We'll just have to see what happens.
Well, from what I've seen, I don't believe there is a marginal lane, and I don't think Mark Oswald believes that either. He's going to hammer his probe as hard as he can. Likewise, Don Prudhomme in the near lane in the Pontiac Firebird, two of the best in the business. They're off. It's another great race. It is Mark Oswald by a fender at 541 to Prudhomme quicker. 5:39, so Oswald really helped out that team. Brock is with his crew chief back at the starting line, Leonard Hughes. Brock?
Well, Leonard, everybody was suspicious of the right lane, but you and Bernstein both took it and were winners.
I think both of us from the previous round softened it up, though, because we both shook and spun real hard the last round, so we both softened up a little bit, which got us down there.
Well, good work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
See you in the final.
Well, Leonard, it's your driver that got you that win light. What a terrific funny car matchup, Don Garland.
Yeah, and the snake is really going to be mad at himself on that one because he lost it right on the starting line. But I do have to inject this in there. They could have had that clutch set so soft to keep him from smoking the tires that it caused the car to be a little down on reaction time. Look at the black mark following the snake's car, but he just can't catch Oswald.
What a race. The snake really hooked up on the edge of smoking the tires. Here's the funny car final. Kenny Bernstein versus Mark Oswald. Oswald with lane choice. And Steve is with him.
You know, I have a feeling when he went to the starting line that this man, Mark Oswald, knew the burden of victory was on him. You left on time. You ran a 41. You beat his quicker 39. Wow.
Yeah, you know, it was a good race. I was ahead of him and out there in the middle. The front end got off the ground and danced over the center line. I had to gather it back, and he got back around me, and it come back around him again. It was a little seesaw. You know, snake's always tough. You know, we're proud to put the probe in front of me.
Everybody having clutch problems. It's still a bit of a black art. Guesswork in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, it is. You know, a few years ago, everybody was slipping the clutch so much it wasn't that critical. They didn't realize it, and then as they found where the performance was, it just got to be touchier and touchier.
in the finals.
Thank you.
Mark Oswald, he still has a shot at the Winston Championship with performance like this.
What a great matchup it's going to be. Oswald versus Bernstein. As we watch one of Gary Ormsby's crewmen working on the critical component here at Memphis, the clutch. Coming up, Pro Stock.
The fans are invited into the pit at NHRA Championship Drag Racing, including our Memphis event today. And when you're there, maybe Goodyear will be nice enough to give you an old tire, and the racers will be nice enough to autograph it. You can take it home and slap a piece of glass on it and have yourself a first-rate little coffee table. Here's Larry Morgan as we go in to the semifinals of Pro Stock. Morgan in his Oldsmobile up against yet another Oldsmobile, the highly vaunted Warren Johnson.
Larry Morgan comes into this round a definite advantage over Warren Johnson in the performance department, but don't ever count out the cagey old veteran.
In fact, it's Johnson away first. In fact, it's Johnson in front, and it's Johnson defeating Larry Morgan. A 7:39 to Morgan's quicker 7:35. Warren Johnson is really going to enjoy that. He won that race, not the Oldsmobile.
Another fine example of what happens when you look at your competition and you see that they have come into the round with a better ET. You just got to get off the starting line ahead of them, and get off ahead is exactly what Warren Johnson did, and it won the race for him.
Well, Don, they always talk about Pro Stock competition being close, but could anybody call this one without electronic help? No way.
Now that's how you drive a Pro Stock car. You see, you leave first. The other guy runs quicker, but you beat him with a 39.
Well, it's not real easy. It takes a little while to get the hang of this thing, but I think we're getting the hang of it, Steve. I think it's coming around.
Great shot.
Thank you very much.
Well, one of the closest Pro Stock races in recent memory, but we may even have a more interesting matchup right now. That, of course, is the champion of champions in Pro Stock competition, Bob Glidden. He's going against the only Chrysler product in big-time Pro Stock competition. That is Darrell Alderman's Dodge Pro Stocker, and earlier, Steve filed this report.
It's about time we take a close-up look at the first Dodge Pro Stocker to win an NHRA title since 1979. Darrell Alderman drove it to victory at the Gator Nationals earlier this year. You say, got to be one of those big, strong Hemis, right? Wrong. Hemis, first of all, love superchargers, and they love nitromethane. They're not big, normally aspirated on gasoline. This is the old 440-style Chrysler motor that dates back, to the mid-1960s. It was in trucks and it was in cars, but it had been long forgotten as really a performance engine, but not by the guys at Wayne County Speed Shop. They had the block recast by Chrysler to thicken the cylinder walls so they could bore them out. They had the bottom end increased in strength so they could put a stroker crankshaft to get it out to 500 cubic inches. Now, even the cylinder heads are basic Chrysler B1 cast in aluminum by Brodex. What they have done internally to the cylinder heads, well, they're not about to tell, nor can we see the manifold design, much like Bob Glidden and Warren Johnson. They disguised that. And now they went through untold number of motors in development on the dyno. They traveled the entire circuit last year and never qualified for a single event. But they never gave up. And victory came at the Gators, much to the delight of Mopar drag race fans across the country.
And interestingly enough, Don Garlitz, it was the man he faces right now, Bob Glidden, who he beat at the Gators. So I would imagine that Glidden is taking Alderman very seriously.
He's showing him a lot more respect than he was at Gainesville as we see Bob Glidden getting ready to go with the in-car camera.
Now you saw his right leg go down on the throttle, his left leg come off the clutch, his hands moving, and this time urged on by his son Rusty, and his Bob Glidden a clear victor. Identical reaction times. Alderman did not enjoy a whole shot as he did that day in Florida.
So, yet again, this pair of arch rivals will face off in the Pro Stock final. Warren Johnson versus Bob Glidden. Bob Glidden with a lane choice in his Ford Pro.
Back in the pits, Bernstein fuels his own car, getting ready for the final with Oswald.
And that's going to be a great one. But now let's go to Steve with a man who just drove his way into the Pro Stock final.
Well, that sets up a tremendous Pro Stock final. The two old warriors, Bob Glidden and Warren Johnson, not the best of friends. One driving for Ford, one driving for Oldsmobile. It's a dandy.
It'll be a great race. Steve, you know, one thing you hit on, I guess you could say we're not the best of friends, but we're both competitors. That's why we're all out here, and it'll be a great race.
Be careful. Warren is cutting tremendous lights today.
You know, he always does when he races. So does everyone when they race me. So I expect that. So that'll be no surprise.
You can also expect that Bob Glidden will be ready with his car for the Pro Stock final as Eddie Hill's crew gets ready for the...
It's time for the finals in all three pro categories. Here's the NHRA Autozone Castrol GTX Mid-South Nationals. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates and Big Daddy Don Garlic. The clutch work continues on the Mark Oswald car as they get ready for the funny car final. But first of all, it's time for one that, well, has the fans' interest and ours as well. You see, Warren Johnson pretty consistently considers the Bob Glidden car maybe not be totally legal. The NHRA tech officials pretty consistently say that it is. So there really is where that little feud lies.
And sometimes, you know, Steve, that's not real good because you get your mind on worrying about the other cars being illegal when in fact you should be worrying about how to make your own car go fast.
In fact, Bob Glidden was quoted as saying that very thing in the Memphis papers this weekend. But Brock, you know, for Warren Johnson, how frustrating it must be. That number 2 in the upper corner of the windshield, that's all he seems to do in this category. It's going to be just a beat your mind to death.
Well, it's beating up an awful lot of other guys too, because Bob Glidden right now going for the 71st major NHRA title in his career. So he's put a lot of guys in the dust, including Warren Johnson.
I'll tell you, sometimes if you go back in those pro stock pits, they're racing for that number 2.
Absolutely, yeah. First in class. Okay, Bob Glidden, our camera is on board as you just saw. And Warren Johnson knows Glidden is not unbeatable. After all, the Dodge did it in Gainesville, but he's the only one so far to drop the probe in the final rounds. Glidden had the best early season start of his entire career. Warren Johnson hopes to put a stop to that. They leave right together. Glidden driving his own race. Rusty urging him on. You saw a little disappointment on the Warren Johnson improvement. Well, for good reason. Warren only ran a 7:37 to Bob's winning 7.28. Brock Yates is with Bob's wife at the line.
Well, Eddie Glidden, number 71. How does that feel? The thrill continues, right?
Yes, it does, and I'm nervous.
You were concerned about this one, I would imagine.
Certainly. Warren is one of the toughest competitors out here, and he's an excellent driver.
It was plenty close. Were you nervous all the way, or did you figure he had it when you saw him at half track?
Well, looking through the camera, I can't really tell, but it looked really close to me through the camera, and I wasn't sure until after I shut the camera off.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So there's joy in Whiteland, Indiana on this day. Let's take one more look. Big Daddy, what do you see off the mark?
Well, very good start. Both cars leave the line almost together. However, Warren Johnson took a very slight starting line advantage. And I might add, that's the only advantage he ever had, because from that point on, it was Glidden's steady march to the finish line. A little power on the top end, because 189 takes a lot more horsepower than 181 miles an hour. Steve?
You know, Warren Johnson must feel like one of those racing greyhounds that chases the electric rabbit all its life and never catches it. Well, Warren Johnson didn't catch this rabbit. Bob Glidden one more time, 7:28, 189.
Steve, you know, Warren knows, and we know, all of the guys that have been around a long time know that when you get on a roll, you can't do anything wrong. You come out on Sunday morning, the next thing you know, you're in the winner's circle. And that's kind of the way it's been with us here lately. We've gotten the right brakes, and Warren hasn't. You know, I think there was a difference for the Pro Stock cars from one lane to the other. Warren's car seemed to move on me a little bit, and when he hit the rough place, the probe took over. And, you know, he's doing a heck of a job, really.
You all are. Your 71st victory.
You know, that's a great victory. More so than being the 71st victory, the fact that we ran Bruce the first round. Bruce was second in the Winston points. Everyone who was right up there except Warren went out early. So we've got at least at this point, a fairly good lead in the Winston chase.
Our best to the family.
Thank you very much.
Bob Glidden, is a 10th Winston title possible? I'll say.
Not only that, Steve, if he keeps going the way he is right now, he could clinch the title by mid-season, perhaps. But right now, it's Top Fuel and Funny Car